Let's see if we can get some people to hop in. Welcome, welcome. I just got off of a podcast interview. It was 2 hours long. It's one of the longest interviews that I've actually possibly ever done besides Summit, but that still wasn't me speaking for that long. So hop on in. Hopefully some of you can join me this afternoon. It is 12:54 Eastern Standard Time. I haven't been on live here on my personal page in a little bit. And I'm in this beautiful sunroom, but it is quite windy today. And there's a little bit of a chill, so hopefully my nose doesn't start running. But last week I wanted to come on and chat with you about barter and trade. Something that has quietly, it's always been a part of our brand, and we bring it up probably once or twice a year, but I feel like right now is a really, really great time to be sharing more about it. So, if you're just hopping in, hello, say hello in the comments. Hopefully I can see your comments, but if I can't, I will come engage with them this afternoon. So I just wrapped up the podcast. I'm going to batch some content over on the TT app if you're not following me there yet. And I thought I would hop in because last week I wanted to and I didn't get a chance to talk about the benefits of barter and trade in today's age, especially if you are building a business, you are wanting to explore alternative wellness and healing, you are an entrepreneur who maybe doesn't have a lot of cash to play with, okay? Show me some fire emojis if that's you in the chat, because as a single mom of 4, this was me. 5 years ago when I started my business, I started from the ground up. I literally had nothing, and I didn't have money to invest. And pretty quickly, I didn't even know that the coaching industry existed, but really quickly I started to catch on, right? Your girl's a fast learner. And I recognized that being a life coach was actually like a thing. It was an industry. And I had been saying for years, like, people like need a life coach. They need someone to kind of guide them in decision making. And I didn't realize then that I was going to be leading people to tap into and essentially uncover their own intuition and learning how to actually use that to leverage it and achieve a goal, right? Not just dreaming about it or talking about it, but actually manifesting it into the physical reality. And I'm sorry if you're commenting, I can't see your comments. But so in the beginning, I started studying coaches, and I told myself, like, I'm going to at least get myself to the point where I can afford to invest in some mentorship, right? I was like desperate for like anyone to show me the freaking way. Like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'll do anything, right? And my first coach was in the UK, and he said, post the video, right? And so I'm like, oh my God, what do I post, right? And so it's this whole incredible evolution. And I truly feel that content creation can open the doorway for anyone. It doesn't have to be in the health and wellness space. I've seen people like viral sports clips, massage therapists, I guess it's still health and wellness, gamers, crafters, right? Like, there's so many different things, artists. So when I couldn't afford to invest, first things first, I got really clear. Excuse the cat. I got really clear. Hang on. I think he wants to go out. Okay. I I got really clear on starting to vet mentors and see, like, who do I want to work with, right? Because money was really scarce. And I still had this mindset, this poverty coding mindset around, like, money is really scarce, money is hard to come by, money doesn't grow on trees, right? And so I really had to break out of that and decide, like, whose energy do I resonate? And it's really interesting because the people who I resonated with are not the same people that I follow and look up to necessarily today. So those clients gave me some great codes and wisdom, but here's what I had happen. When it came time to invest, I still had a lot of clearing work to do, and I had a lot of discernment coming up. And so I really had to mold those together. And over time, I invested, and I started investing really small. And then I went into larger offers. But in the beginning, when I could not invest, and I was in that period of deciding what coaches I wanted to work with, what kind of brand do I want to have, who am I, right? Because that was huge. And that is still huge. Barter and trade was massive. So in the beginning, I would get into groups and containers that would allow it, and I would trade services with people, right? So if I needed help with a clearing, or I needed help learning how to have a script, right, for my sales calls, how to set up content, like all these little things I had to learn, right? And I had to learn by doing it. And so along the way, teachers would show up, and if I could help them and I felt like it was beneficial, I would trade them services. So even things like massages. I know one entrepreneur who has this whole system. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but a bunch of entrepreneurs are signed into it. And you essentially trade a shareholding, I guess, of your services, and then you have access to other services. So restaurants, massage therapists, bars, all kinds of different things that are owned by small businesses. And this is the beauty if you own a small business. And obviously, we cannot barter and trade every single dollar, right? We have to still pay things like electric bill. But if we start looking at deconstructing the patriarchy, that doesn't look necessarily like women sitting at the top of some pyramid, right? It really truly looks more like an ecosystem is how I'm seeing it. And within that ecosystem, really truly, children need to be the priority, and women, caregivers, right? And everything else should be sort of protecting that. And so it can be so expansive. You would be surprised who will say yes to an exchange, right? And you can even put a post up in a group and get a ton of people. I mean, you could easily get 50, 200 to 500 people on a thread saying, I would love to trade services. Last year I shared this one time, and we had someone literally say, like, I could trade you Airbnb services. Like, you could come and stay at one of our Airbnbs, right? Hello, you could host a retreat there. You could film content. Like, this is huge. So start thinking outside of the box, right? If you are someone who is just starting your brand, or you're like in that first 2 to 3 years, 2 to 5 years of building business, and you're wanting to get a little bit ahead, right? Maybe you want some copywriting skills. Maybe you want some publishing. Maybe you want some PR. Maybe you're needing self-care and a retreat. These are the kinds of things that you could start networking and reaching out, not just online, but in your local community, okay? And I'm huge at this. I am huge about this. I've gotten several clients this way, even if they start as a client or they start as maybe a service provider that I'm investing in, and then later we build a relationship and they will decide like, hey, I would actually love some help growing my social media, increasing my conversions, packaging, positioning, whatever it is. You can use your skill set, right? So this is why I'm such also a big advocate, especially to the children, of obtaining skills that you can use, right? Humans are talented beings. We can do a lot of things. We can have multiple talents throughout a lifetime. And I feel like we've been desperately underrated in that regard of being told you can only do one job, one skill your entire life. And we've seen that that's not how wealth is actually built, right? So I am going to be coming into Work Your Light this week. And I want to talk about scarcity coding, mindset coding, this type of stuff. If you are an expert in this, neuroscience, human behavior, human consciousness, and you want to come on as a guest, I would love to have you. We're going to start podcasting again pretty soon here. I'm going to go on some interviews, and then I'm going to be circling back and interviewing the authors of Light Mastery. So we do have chapters available into Light Mastery. We also just launched the Numerology Business Money Blueprint. In addition, we have the Axiom coming up with pre-enrollment starting March. So that's a lot. We've been busy here, but I love to have a really juicy spring because we slow down in the summer here. So I'm kind of a creature of my own habits, I guess, and I've built a business around the children, right? And the children's schedule and when the children are home. And so I've definitely been able to expand that flexibility a lot more as the kids get older, which has been fun. But now the children are starting businesses and things like that. So Nick, welcome. So that's pretty much it, you guys. That's what's going on here. If you're feeling called to jump into the Axiom, we're going to be doing a special pre-launch pricing. This is going to be a high ticket offer because it is a 12-month program, but this is something that we only offer once, twice a year, right? And then we break it down in chunks the rest of the year. So if you want to just be a part of the whole thing, previously, we used to only be able to guarantee monetization within like 18 months to 2 years. And our newest clients are breezing through the frameworks, and we're seeing monetization in as short as like 3 to 6 months. So this is a very expansive container, okay? This is going to be a bit of energetics because it is going to stretch you, but it is mostly structures, and then we will address anything that comes up through that process. So if any of this sounds fun, we would love your support. We would love you to be a part of the book launch community, Light Mastery, launching on Amazon. And so far, the author chapters that have come in for editing are beautiful. These women have really bared their soul and put their life's work into these chapters and this wisdom and what they're teaching and what they're bringing forward. And I see now so clearly why this book took the time that it did to really allow itself to come forward, and collectively the gift of sight was yet to really be expanded. I'm sending you guys so much love. hang in there. I know it's tough right now, but journal, write, speak up, create art, and push back.